Shalom, shalom, giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Makah, HaKodash. Double honor to all the apostles, a great meal, soon do well. Peace, love, and blessings to the brothers on the highways and byways, giving all diligence to make it calling. Any election sure, and blessings to the very few sisters out there listening, learning, and believing. I'm thy fellow Kanakla. I come at you once again with another lesson, Lord's will, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai's lessons edifying and also exhorting. This is just be end time Bible prophecy. All right. This was posted 24 hours ago, a day ago. Trump threatening to impose tariffs on Denmark and European countries. All right. And again, Fair Use Act, fair use. All right. Not making money off this content. All right. But this is for educational commentary purposes only. All right. So we'll play this. And now you see here, this from Crooks, I believe it's pronounced. It says the European Union is preparing retaliatory tariffs worth $93 billion against the U.S. after the Trump administration threatened new duties on European allies over dispute linked to Greenland. The measures are intended to strengthen the EU's hand in high-level talks with President Trump at the World Economic Forum, Davos. So if you don't know, when you start throwing tariffs, those are acts of war. That's the start of war. All right, that's usually how the war starts. You know, it says tariffs. All right, you know, it starts economically, so to say. All right. So let's play this video real quick.
European countries until he reaches a deal with leaders for the U.S. to purchase Greenland. Trump posted on Truth Social saying that starting February 1st, several European countries will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June 1st, the tariff will be increased to 25%. Earlier this week, Denmark and several other NATO countries sent troops to Greenland for military exercises, likely signaling opposition to any attempt for the U.S. to seize the country. Any American
Look at that. Sending troops to Greenland. All these countries. All right. Norway, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Finland. And you would think that this was like insane. You would think this is insane to do. Here it is. These are mostly all of your allies. All right. And you're basically declaring war on all your allies, man. This dude, Trump, he's getting the job done, man. You know, call halal Yahweh Shai. The Lord has a spirit on him, all right, to do these things. As the scriptures say, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. So the Lord is bringing, all right, this place down speedily. As I say, he will shorten the days for the elect's sake. All right, but this right here, man, this is beautiful news to us because we know the kingdom of heaven, all right, it's about to be established, and that's the downfall and destruction of Babylon the Great, aka America. All right, that's what's gonna make that possible. Okay, the kingdom divided. You know, this NATO, EU, and America, this whole coalition, this superpower, is being divided. All right, it can't stand. So call halal Yahweh Shai. This is the end of Esau's world, and Trump is doing a very, very great job in ushering in the end of his world, the end of the Edomite rule. The 2 Ezra 6:9, it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." All right, and you first, that fall and their end is starting by the division. All right, the house cannot stand. A house divided cannot stand. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick. House divided. See if we can pull that up. All right. New Testament, of course. Let's just get it in Luke 11:17. All right, this is a parable Yahushua spoke. But he knowing their thoughts said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And that's what's going to happen. And a house divided against a house falleth. And if Satan also shall be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? All right. Because ye say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. And that was a parable he used as a saying, you know, he was casting out devils, by the way of devils, so to say, okay, by Beelzebub. So how shall I use that parable? But again, all things are written for our learning. Every king divided against itself is brought to desolation. So here it is, you see it. And Trump is the one getting that job done. Okay.
American military move on Greenland could trigger Article 5 of the NATO treaty, which says an attack on one NATO territory is an attack on all. President Trump's threats are drawing criticism from leaders on both sides of the aisle in D.C.
And that's causing
an attack on all. President Trump's threats are drawing criticism from leaders
as well. All right, so this is prophecy, 2nd Ezra 9th chapter, uproars of the people. Okay.
On both sides of the aisle in D.C.
Basically severing this whole agreement and invading an ally, a democracy, it's immoral, it's wrong.
The thought of starting a war or invading a NATO ally is unthinkable.
Unthinkable. Exactly.
Greenland also is unpopular among Americans, according to a new CNN poll. The survey shows 75% oppose the U.S. attempting to take control. It comes as thousands of people in Greenland and Denmark took to the streets to protest this proposal.
So, Donald, we don't want to be Americans. We are Greenlanders, and we want to be in a democratic world, and we hope Americans, they will support us.
I've never met an American who thinks anything other. Greenland should be free, and Greenland should be for the Greenlanders, not for the Americans.
Trump has argued the U.S. needs Greenland for national security purposes. His statements have strained diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Denmark. Organizers behind yesterday's protest plan to coincide with U.S. senators' visits to Denmark.
All right, now you see here, the European is preparing retaliatory tariffs. Okay. So you see it, you know, it's beautiful, beautiful news. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, so let's go back to Revelation, the 17th chapter. And I'm not going to read through the whole chapter. There's a lot of history, all right? And, you know, every time, you know, situations transpire concerning NATO, the EU, the collapse and division, you basically have to read this whole chapter. So I'm just get the main points. And, of course, all you got to search in GMS breakdowns, Revelation, the 17th chapter. All right, just trying to update you. It's Revelation 17, the first chapter. Almost like the first verse. It says, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." All right, so this has been created. All right, the great whore is America that sitteth upon many waters. The waters are people. Okay, so this is what he saw. No different from Daniel's the 7th chapter when it spoke about the 4 beasts. All right, do beasts like that actually exist? No. So it was talking concerning his representation. All right, of kingdoms. Okay, so this is America. It says with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. You know, they basically followed after the ways of America. All right, the whole American way of life. All right, it says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. All right, that's her democracy. Hell, even using the U.S. dollars. Again, all the philosophies and things that America basically pushed out. All right, the kings of the earth, all right, the presidents, the other nations, they basically adopted that same, all right, culture, so to say. All right, it says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." All right, the 7 heads, the Greeks, the British, the Germanium Minor, the Spanish, the French, the Romans, Germanium Major. All right, the 10 horns, as you can see here, which what you're seeing it right now. The 10 horns represent the common market. or the European Economic Community, EEC, established in 1958. Today, the EEC is known as the EU, the European Union. These were the original. All right, it's many more that has been joined onto them now. But these are original. You see this right here. America sits upon, all right, this people, mean they're in the position of a control, all right? They're in the dominant position. They're being propped up, all right? So, and again, you saw that within this this chart here. You saw some of those, okay? Definitely, you see it happening. It says Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, all right, Greece, Spain, and Portugal, which are the same. Because if you look at that flag today, it's 12 stars, all right? But Spain and Portugal, one and the same. England, Ireland, all right, and West Germany. Okay, so let's go from there to Jeremiah 51. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon," America, all right, "and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind." And that destroying wind is the missiles, okay? That nuclear sweep, so to say. It says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land." So it's using that parabolic talk, because how do you feed a fire? You fan it with oxygen. All right, so again, that wind and that fire, all right, it says, "For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about." So in the day of trouble, so this day, we're in that day, all right, because it's happening. It says, "Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow." This is talking about the missiles, all right. And again, another metaphor for the missiles as arrows. It says, "And against him that lifted himself up in his braggading, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans," talking about America, "and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God." And that's talking about the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so we're in captivity over here in Babylon the Great, aka America. All right, and we already been delivered out of ancient Babylon. So that's how you know this is talking about a prophetic Babylon, which John the Revelator came and basically further confirmed. Because when you go into what they call the New Testament, okay, Yahushua came to confirm what the prophets of old said, all right? So the book of Revelation, all right, as we're going to see and get some similar points, John is just confirming, all right, what the Old Testament said, all right? "For Israel have not been forsaken," that's the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos, all right, Native American Indians, okay, North, Central, South America, "that the Lord hasn't forsaken his people." As you can see, the persecution coming upon us now, all right, by the hand of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the modern-day Babylonians, the modern-day Chaldeans, all right, "nor Judah of his God, the Lord of hosts." So the Lord is about to destroy our enemies and deliver us out of America. It says, "Though their lands was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel," though we sinned against the Lord, this is why we're over here in captivity in America, all right? It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the Lord's," it's like, "for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." So all the genocide and slavery, rape, rob, and murder of the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, in this land, what you call America, the Lord is about to recompense this place. That's why you see the spirit that's put on Trump is to isolate this place. Now here it is, this man is getting ready to go to war against his own allies. Okay, he already at war with these big superpowers, Russia, China, all right, Iran, North Korea. So here it is. Only thing you had left was the European allies, and here it is. You're breaking that pact you made with them. It says Babylon had been the golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. In that way of life, you know, they was in agreement with America, all right. And you see now, okay, they're mad. They see that this place is no good. All right, they was with it, but here it is. It's just the non-stop. All right, controlling. Always ready to go to war. Always ready to take someone's land or resources. All right, the nations are mad. It says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. And here it is. The reason why Trump is doing all these things. All right, trying to take Greenland, trying to take Venezuela, and definitely, as we see, they have their eyes set on Iran. They're trying to maintain that global dominance, that dominant position over the planet Earth. And they know they'll be able to do that by basically taking over, you know, strategic parts, all right, of the planet, all right. That's all this is about, trying to maintain that dominance. And as you can see, that's going to be their downfall. It says we would have healed. So, you know, whatever Trump doing, see how he's trying to take Greenland, Venezuela, want Iran. That's not going to help you. All right, that's going to lead you into your destruction. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So this is it. All right, the Lord is closing the curtains on Babylon the Great. That's it. So, you know, he's going to continue to push forward. Definitely when he targets Iran, and that's going to be the end of Babylon the Great, aka America. But before those things take place, all right, the chip has to be made mandatory. Okay. And by the way, too, you know, this channel here, you know, I do my screen recording on. All right. So if it looks like I haven't been on this channel, all right, I do live feeds on this channel here. If you want to subscribe to this, and this is where I do my lives at. So if it looked like I haven't posted on this channel right here, right, this is my other channel where I go live on, which I've been doing that lately. So get the latest videos sometimes if you go on this one. All right. So, Lord willing, you know, this is edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh Shai Shai. You know, we at the door of this thing, the destruction of Babylon the Great, aka America. And the Lord is going to come through and deliver us by the way of the chariots, what they call UFOs. But yeah, this is it, man. This place is cooked. All right. Europe has reached its breaking point. I'll read a little bit of this before I close out. All right, because this was just posted recently. So it says, after more than a year of cautious diplomacy, high stakes flattery, and efforts to keep transatlantic cooperation intact, European leaders now find themselves confronting perhaps the sharpest challenge yet from the White House. President Donald Trump said Saturday he will impose sweeping new tariffs on 8 key European allies. And again, this seems like, you know, it's unreal. Like you putting tariffs on your allies, right? You know, you did that with China. Why? Because you're talking about a trade war. Because again, you're starting a war with your own allies. All right. So it says, Shalakia. So on new tariffs on 8 key European allies that will ratchet up ratchet up unless Denmark agrees to hand over Greenland, resurrecting one of its most provocative foreign policy obsessions as he threatens the territory of NATO ally. The ultimatum marks the latest escalation in a pattern that has seen Europe repeatedly forced onto the back foot during Trump's second administration, weighing economic and security ties with the U.S. against a White House increasingly willing to weaponize trade again against its closest partner. So this is like war. All right. Let's go back. Where were we? All right. It says, but this time the response has been sharper. European leaders moved quickly to convene an emergency meeting on Sunday, which was yesterday, condemning the tariff threats as unacceptable and warning of serious consequences for transatlantic relations. The episode has raised fresh questions about how much longer Europe is willing to absorb pressure from Washington in the name of a NATO alliance that appears to be bursting at the seams. So this is the collapse of that alliance, man. All right. America is going to be left by itself. It says Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland are facing new 10% tariffs until a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. The U.S. leader said Saturday, which duties increasing to 25% if a deal is not reached by June 1st. So here he putting the pressure on them. All right. So if you don't have a deal by June 1st, we're going to up the tariffs. All right. So what you think this is going to do to his allies? What you think is going to happen? All right. So let's go down to Revelation 17:12. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as the kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings." And that's talking about ultimately, in the midst of all these wars and commotion, all right, the Lord is going to come back in the midst of this war, all right, of this world war. And the nations are going to try to come up and fight against the Lord when he pulls up in those ships, all right? But the Lord is going to overcome them, all right? And he is King of kings. And it says, "And they are with him, are called, chosen, and faithful, elect. And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." So again, so you get that visual. All right. The same people who he's threatening with tariffs. All right. That whole alliance. What did the scripture prophesy? It says, "The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, they shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom to the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth." And that's the position that they're in. All right. Take what they want when they want. All right. Calling the shots. But this is going to backfire, according to Bible prophecy. So, Trump, you keep doing your thing, man. It's going to be fulfilled. Because this definitely, you think your European allies don't like you now. All right. You should definitely see how they feeling right now. Okay, they ready to go to war with you. Why you think they sent troops over there to Greenland? All right. Now, will, a war automatically start if Trump takes Greenland? Who knows? All right. But when it come time to shoot those missiles, okay, we seen what the scripture said, man. They gonna shoot them. Right on Russia, China, all America's enemies, okay? They're gonna do it. Because it's written. So, has Europe had enough? Yeah, that breaking point is here, man. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Till next time, say shalom to the elect, double.